Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 99 Everything with Jonathan Lau. That's me. And in today's solo podcast, I'm going to talk about another reason I guess of why 99 Everything I think is an important thing that everyone should strive for. So let's dive straight into it. I'm a physiotherapist, so in physio, we just believe that prevention is always better than treatment, right? If we can get someone to not come into the clinic by teaching them like the proper, like, let's say, exercise form, load management principles, just like daily habits that can reduce their likelihood of injury risk, we would, right? Because then this person doesn't have to come in, experience pain, pay all this money, and just go through this like uncomfortable process of rehab. So yeah, prevention is just always seems to be the better solution than treatment, right? But unfortunately, we live in a society where most people won't change until pain happens or when it's too late, and that's, in my clinical experience, that is also like most patients. They'll come in when things are so bad that they can't do much, or they can't do the things that they want to do, So how this relates to 99 Everything, I'll explain. And I'm actually going to go through all these dimensions to kind of create a picture that makes it a bit more easily digestible, right? So let's go ahead and use health first, because that's very, very simple to explain. So the more health you have, the more stuff you can do. That's just simply it, right? And also, the more health you have, when something does happen to you, you just have less of a subtraction to your baseline health than, let's say, someone who doesn't, right? So for example, in the physio world, there's this thing known as pre-operative rehab. So what that basically means is, let's say someone has to go and do surgery, let's say for their knee, they'll go see a physio maybe like 4 to 6 weeks before, just to build some muscle in that leg, because they know that once they have the surgery, they're going to be out for, like, let's say, even longer, right? Like maybe another 4 to 6 weeks. And that 4 to 6 weeks, they may even be just like laying in bed, just resting their knee, because it's been cut open. So that's an example of prevention in a way, because that person is stacking up more health in order to make the consequence of the surgery less drastic on their body, And you can literally extrapolate this to like most things in health, right? So the stronger someone's back is, the less likely they're going to get back pain to a degree, right? The stronger someone's knee is when they play basketball, and all the times they land and just, all that shock goes into their knees. Just the stronger you are, regardless of your technique and your, I guess, mechanics, you're just going to be able to absorb more force, and that's why strength and conditioning exists for athletes. It's to allow them to be able to, tolerate and take all the force that they'll be going through, let's say, through a season. Yeah, simply that. Like, if you just have more health, you can just tolerate more. And that's in like sport, work, literally everything, right? Because as human beings, we also live on Earth in human bodies. And until someone, creates some thing to upload us into the metaverse, we're going to have to take care of our human bodies if we want to function and thrive in the physical plane, right? So that's health. Finances is also, I think, very simple to understand. It's like the more money you have and the more you 99 that, when unexpected things happen, you're going to be able to tank it more, like, no one thinks they're going to get let off from their job, but I think last week 10,000 people got let off from Amazon, and like I think 75% of Twitter employees recently left because things were just not going great at Twitter, So no one expects these things to happen, like no one expects an injury to happen, but the more you can prepare by maximizing, let's say, health, finances, when things like this hit, you'll be in a better spot. Same thing. Let's say a family member gets cancer. No one expects that, right? And it sucks, So let's use two different people, right? Let's say one person has $100 million and one person has 100K, right? And a family member has cancer, So the person with more money is going to feel a lot more comfortable in finding the best treatments available, probably also much more expensive, but because they have that reserve of money, they'll be able to find more opportunities or find something that helps their parent recover or heal from cancer in a better way, versus someone who doesn't have as much money. They might have to go through the more like public health system, or they'll have to find something that fits their budget. But when it comes to like your family member's health, I'd say most people are willing to spend as much as they would like to, and like, let's even look like past that. Like, let's say the family member survives or the family member passes. There's still like a massive like monetary hit that's been incurred on the person, So I think that happens in America a lot. People like, because there's no public health system. So when people go through surgeries and stuff, like, it really stuffs them up. Like they have to start working like 3 jobs, and then it goes back to this cycle. They get sick again. It sucks, So just what goes to show again that the more you can maximize these areas of life, you just have a greater reserve for when life hits you, Because look, life is going to hit us at some point, right? And I'm not trying to jinx it, but to be realistic, I'm sure everyone who is listening to this or watching this knows someone who has a family member get really sick, or knows someone who has incurred some level of like debt that's put them in a difficult position, or has lost their job, right? No one likes these things, but the more we can be prepared for those things, it's not going to hurt us as much, right? And I think the other element of this is the level at which people will just accept the consequences. So let me explain. Someone who doesn't have as much money, and then let's say a family member is getting really sick, in their reality, it's like, I better just start writing my funeral letter. It's like they don't have the perception that there is something that they can do about it. They have resorted to whatever they are able to see with their current reality, So that's really interesting, because it's not only 1990 finances, that's one element, but also 1990 your mindset of like what is possible, Because I think a lot of people, they give up very easily, and they also are like, oh, it is what it is, But sometimes there's more things you can do, if you just research, if you have the finances to like seek out certain, let's say alternative medicines, you never know, right? And I think most people underestimate how much they can actually control. There's some outliers who are like control freaks, and like, oh, the sun's like fucking going down and it's my fault. It's like, no, relax. But a lot of things you can control in life, and the more you can maximize, I'm going back to the same thing, the more you can maximize these elements and dimensions of life, you'll be able to use them and be able to control more things, So that's health and that's finances. But you're probably going to think, what about emotional health and spiritual health? Like, what's the point of 99ing everything? Like those areas, right? Well, I'm sure everyone has gone through some level of heartbreak, or some relationship breakdown where it was stressful, and people always get like emotionally affected by things like this, myself included, right? But the thing is, once you can learn to regulate your emotions, or like just being aware of your emotions, like not identifying with them, just overall emotional intelligence, it just once again gives you a level of ability to extract from when things aren't going your way, So I've seen people that their mood is dependent on what happens to them, right? So if things are going well, things are, yeah, I'm happy, but as soon as something bad happens, they just like go down, right? And that is so that is so like you're so powerless. You're literally a victim of your circumstance. You know, by having emotional intelligence, you're able to. I guess you have a different perspective on things, and you're able to. You're not going to let these things hit you as hard, for example, and then you can continue on your day and whatever. So that's another reason why you want a 99. All those aspects, the emotional, the spiritual kind of mental stuff, because once again, no one no one wants accidents, but you know, things happen. People get laid off. You know, things like that happen in life, and I still don't fully understand why people are so chill about it, because like people will complain when that stuff happens, but they don't do the work to prevent that from happening as hard. It's just like you could have prevented this or not have it as bad, but you just were lazy, or you didn't know. Who knows, right? So that's the other elements. What am I missing? I think that's pretty much it. So the main gist of this is by 1990 everything, you are stacking up a level of, we'll call it capacity, emotional capacity, fitness capacity, financial capacity, which when something hits you, it won't go straight to zero. It might just have a dent for a reason. So the more you maximize, obviously, the less it's going to affect you, right? A freaking billionaire is not going to care when he gets a speeding fine, right? Or like a very fit person is not really going to care when, let's just say, a strain on them is not going to be as impactful than as someone who doesn't exercise, because they just have no muscle and this is not as conditioned, right? So yeah, 90-90 everything is actually a very preventative type of measure, and not out of like fear, right? It's not like, oh, like life is so terrible and that's why we gotta do these things. It's just being prepared. It's like why you went to school to learn. It's like to prepare yourself so when you eventually go into the real world, you'll be more equipped. It's literally the same thing, and yeah, it's not easy, but if you, I look at it like this, right? If you're a parent and you want your kid to study and your kid doesn't want to study because it's hard, if you truly love them, you'd tell them to like kind of keep studying, right? Because if they just bludged and did nothing, what would their life turn out to be? And if you can kind of put yourself in the kid's shoes, 90-90 everything now is so you can be as prepared as possible out of love for yourself. So when things happen in the future, you'll be ready. And look, if things don't happen, then even better. You now have all this capacity to do whatever you want, right? You can travel. You can literally do whatever because you have just so much to work with. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say for this one. It's just 90-90 everything it's good for life. That's how I see it. And maybe this is a side tangent because, look, I understand also that 90-90 everything is not easily available for everyone. There's people who live in poverty that 90-90 everything, the concept of that is, it's like they just need food on the table, right? But my belief is still that striving towards 90-90 everything is still a worthy endeavor because it's hope, right? If we don't choose and go and strive for something, we're just gonna like sit in whatever circumstance we're in, and we're just like, it is what it is, okay, And imagine if you were in poverty, right? And you were just like, oh, I'm not gonna 99 everything. I'm just going to like make do, It's a very giving up mindset, and look, it's tough because when you're in those situations, it's hard to see outside of your circumstance because there's all these factors, right? But I still think 90-90 everything is applicable to everyone because everyone starts with one dimension first, right? We're not just 90-90 everything from the beginning. It's like you build on this a bit, and then you take a bit of your focus from here, and then you go to the next one, and then that's doing pretty well. You can kind of leave it there for maintenance, and then you go to the next one, right? You just got to start somewhere, And I think someone who is in a very difficult situation can also just start. You know, there's so many stories of famous rappers who came out of the streets and just still made it. You know, it's like I just don't think there's ever an excuse, and just by giving yourself an excuse, it's such an easy way to cop out. You know. Cool. So, anyways, guys, that's pretty much today's episode. Hope you enjoyed listening to it. Stay tuned for the next episode.